Hey, AfterBuzzers, welcome to the Camping After Show. We are going to be talking about Season 1, Episode 7. We get the birthday party. We have some MDMA, some cake fights. We have some relationships crashing and burning, some young love in the air. But most importantly, Carleen is back in action, and super excited. We have IONE SKYE on the line. She's going to be chatting with us tonight about the episode, so stay right there.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the
begin. If you don't remember the name of a song, just hum along to it.
Well, that's what,
People
Kathleen McSorley-Jodell did that, and if she does it, I feel like we can do that, right, Amy?
Well, it's true. That's true. Carleen may beg to differ on her methods.
We can ask her, because we have Ione on the line. Ione, are you here?
Yes.
Woo! Guys, we're so excited to have her. Thank you so much for being here, Ione.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Very excited. Yeah, I mean, tonight, we're just going to kind of chat about the episode a bit, some of your experiences on the show, and we'll kind of go from there. Maybe we'll get a little weird like you guys did at the party. We'll see.
Yeah.
I'm glad we didn't do MDMA before this, Amy.
Yeah, or are we?
We'll see as the episode goes on.
So yeah, thank you again for joining us. Why don't we start off just kind of having you tell us a little bit about just kind of your overall experience on the show and what it was like getting to work with Lena and Jenny, and what an amazing cast.
I know. It was like your perfect dinner party if you can handpick, just the cast is so, you've got like Jennifer Garner and Juliet and me who have been sort of, and working for the same amount of time, like since the 80s, and then this sort of Brett Gelman, these sort of newer genius comedians. So it was like, and Bridget Everett, like it was just it was so fun for us, these people who've been kind of working for a while and who are such fans of theirs, and for them, there was like this mutual, like fans of one another, everybody. It was just a blast. It was, just 8 episodes, so it wasn't a very long shoot, so everybody was in a good mood the whole time. It was a very civilized shoot, like it wasn't too long. The hours weren't too long. And I was a fan of Girls and also HBO. Like, I think any actor is excited to do something for HBO because, they're so good. So anyway, it was just like all around a blast and really, really fun and satisfying.
You can kind of sense that off camera. I mean, obviously, you're all amazing actors, which is part of the reason. I think the cast is really what makes this show. But I think when you can sort of feel the intimacy, even between a cast off camera as a viewer, that really enhances the experience. Did it kind of feel like you guys were camping during production?
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't go, like when we were on the outside, because some of it was indoors, on a stage, but all of the exteriors, like our trailers were pretty far away, so you couldn't like hide out in your trailer, and and it like it wasn't terrible. It wasn't like, it was a little cold at night and then very dusty in the day, so the conditions were kind of a little gnarly, but not too much. But yes, in that respect, it was kind of, you're all sort of vulnerable out in nature together, which also makes it, you just end up hanging out together more. Mm-hmm. So that was great.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, that mutual respect and just admiration you guys already had for each other as, actors, and then getting to be in that atmosphere must have just kind of enhanced it too. And
yeah,
I was wondering too,
we were all sort of in the mood to kind of, I think in our lives, like to sort of let our guard down and get close, because when you get older and you're married or have kids and you're working still, you kind of do your job and just keep your head down in a way and don't get too close in a way, because you already are like have your friends and whatever, but it was unusual at our age, I think, to get this close. Or maybe that just happens on jobs where you're feeling kind of creatively satisfied or something. You're more into like bonding with food. Anyway, it was one of those, like you said, where we really did get close. We're still close. It hasn't worn off yet.
Oh, very cool. Very cool.
What were you going to say?
Well, I was actually wondering too, because I mean, with how well you guys, how good the chemistry was between all of you. Obviously, the writing in the show is so character specific and so subtly funny in so many ways. But how much improvising were you guys doing as well?
We sort of got a thing down, which probably shows like this do, like comedy shows like this, where you sort of do it as written, and then the writers come in with alternative lines that they've come up with out of sort of being inspired by watching you do a few takes. And then, you can improvise here and there. So a little bit, I would say, like not much, but for sure they were comfortable with, a little bit of improv, and then would ask you sometimes to improv. So I don't know what the, percentage was, but it was a little bit, but mostly scripted, really.
Yeah, one thing I love about Carleen is, like the rest of the characters, she's so specific. And it's funny, we were talking, there's something all of these characters are messed up, but I feel like in some ways Carleen is the most like vulnerably tragic. I'm wondering, when you were first reading her, how did you kind of see her, and what were some of your maybe decisions that you were making about her as you prepped for the role?
I just didn't know what to do. I just sort of started immediately watching like SNL, like, comedians, and like Catherine O'Hara and like Jennifer Coolidge and like sort of Kate Millen. What's her name from Saturday Night Live? Kate.
McKinnon?
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. Like just actresses who do all sorts of different characters, because I just thought, oh, this is a really out there lady. I'm nothing like her. And then my husband was like, you're a little more like her than you think. And so I just tried to get into that. And it's true, like, the way Lena Dunham writes is very specific. Like her character descriptions are like so specific. So like she likes Holly Hobby, and she wants, like all these kind of things really help build the world that I wish the world was like. I wish it was like Little House on the Prairie. And so I kind of could get into that sort of mindset. And so I sort of worked hardest I've ever worked on a part in a way for this for some reason, and had such a good time just jumping off, and just trying to just go and find this kind of kooky person.
Well, yeah, from a viewer standpoint, it paid off.
Definitely.
And the progression of her too. I mean, from the beginning, I know early episodes we talked about what like beautiful comedy you brought to it, just with silence a lot of times, or certain looks that that you would give back to Jennifer Garner, and up until the last episode where you were not silent in that one. we got to see like such a fun progression of her. Yeah,
I know. We all had a sort of the same thing of finding like the real person within the character, which I'm sure a lot of actors who have like comedy, comedic roles, you're trying to find this like, well, there's a real person there who has a life, and that kind of balance can be sort of tricky at times. Like I remembered one of the read-throughs where we would every week, read it through, and Chris Sullivan was there, and I was like, I don't know how to do this. Like, it's all of a sudden getting super earnest. And he was like, just do it like Carleen would do it. And I was like, oh, yeah. Like, it is sort of, you sometimes would get thrown, at least I felt like, and Juliet, too, like, how do you play such an out there person and still find the real person in there kind of thing?
Yeah, you did such a nice job of that. I don't know if you're the kind of actor who does like backstory work, but what I love is I feel like when I watch your performance in this, Ione, I'm seeing the damage that Catherine did to you growing up. Like I'm just like seeing how messed up the McSorley family probably was to grow up in.
Oh my gosh.
And that's what I'm seeing. Is that sort of what you were thinking about as you were performing the role?
Yeah, for sure. You get caught in these roles, and like she probably was this just star student and amazing person, and I was sort of meek, and I think I don't quite understand how she functions, so I probably decide I'm just going to be of service and just be like helpful, and the irony is that the person who is like succeeding probably her whole academic high school career, like Jennifer Garner's character, is now sort of falling apart, and I'm the person who got trampled on, and now I'm sort of finding my voice and everything. But yeah, it's really yeah, it's endlessly kind of interesting, like siblings and sisters, and it can go on and on. But you know, and not knowing what to do with your sibling when you get older, like that's a huge thing I think people go through. Like, how do I have an adult relationship with, you know? Anyway, it's a lot of that going on.
And I mean the in-laws too, because I know we talked a lot about on this show about the relationship between Carleen and Walt and how they've both kind of been the victims of Catherine at different points.
I know, and then they bond over that, which is so sweet. And and it looks like I was playing it a little bit like I'm sort of in love with him, obviously. And I remember them directing me at one point saying, like, you should be like you have a crush on him. I was like, you can't notice that I'm like super crushed out on him, because I thought I was playing it like. And then I watched it and I was like, it looks like I'm having a huge crush on him. But yeah, we both help each other, because I'm sort of defending him, and then when he sees me defend myself, he goes for it himself.
I described it on the show as you both have post-traumatic stress disorder, and it's like when veterans connect. I feel like that's what you two are doing after a war.
So there's more to come. You'll see the last episode.
We're so excited.
Oh God! Which actually, let's jump into this week's episode. So we got the first part of the birthday party. We got your return. So what was? Did you have any like standout moments just from this episode? Anything that you just really enjoyed?
Well, anytime we got in that barn, there was like, it felt like we were on an altered consciousness. I don't know why, but it just
was the drugs.
It just sort of was this like, this room that just felt, it was a barn, but we all felt like totally free and crazy in there anyway. So that was kind of fun, because you'd step in and like, whoa.
Is there a chance Lena and Jenny were spiking your water on set to make it so that you guys were under the influence of something?
Probably. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, microdosing us at least. Yeah, it was, that was really fun. And just watching everybody lose it in the barn. Like, everybody had their moments, like Brett Gelman and, and it was just, it's like, it sounds corny, but it's like an honor, and it's like, it's just such a fun thing to watch this other actors lose their minds in front of you and go for things. And we all sort of had our turn to, go crazy in the barn.
It was so great. When you pulled up on that motorcycle and you finally got your chance to let Catherine know how you feel, it's interesting because what I really appreciated about the choices you made was I still recognized Carleen. Like, I feel like there's a version of this performance where you go over the top and I lose sight of who Carleen really is. So did you have to kind of think about that when you were playing that scene?
Yes. I mean, I was concerned, like, where's this character? And I think that, I don't know. I mean, I feel like I maybe lost it a little bit too much at certain points, but I think, I also became more grounded, and like sometimes even your voice changes when you become more grounded. Like, I've known people who girls have kind of baby voices even when they're an adult, and then they kind of emotionally change and they find their real voice even. So I think, I don't know, but that was tricky because it got very all of a sudden dramatic and real, and I was like, whoa, wait, where's Carleen? But I think I kind of kept her in there enough, hopefully.
Yeah, no, I think you definitely did so much of even just the body language, even when you like ran away at the, like.
Oh, right, yeah.
That was a very Carleen, like scared run at the end of it.
Yeah.
But everyone in this cast, you guys are all so good at that kind of, like you mentioned, when you have to go up into this like dark, angry place where it's still funny. You still bring so much humor to it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool because there are some movies or shows you see where sometimes it seems like the actors are in a different movie from one another. But I think if the intention or something, if everybody's like on the same page somehow, I don't know, everyone kind of gets the same vibe of what the show's going for.
Yeah, it's so we can feel it as the audience that it's such a that everyone was in good hands. You're all kind of sailing on the same ship, because like sometimes you don't feel that in television shows. I'd have to wonder, we're girls fans too, and we love Jenny and Lena and sort of how they work. Do you feel like how do they work on set? Like, what's their influence? What kind of working environment do they create for you guys?
Well, yeah. So Lena was like the Wizard of Oz at first, like writing away, like holed up in her apartment or in LA in her house or something. And so she was around a bit, and then Jenny sort of took over and really loved like Bob Altman, and she was like, let's just all meet, and that sort of Coppola thing of he would have dinners with the cast. And so we had a lot of sort of rehearsals, and we did different things like switched roles and read each other's roles and just stuff to kind of break the ice. And she really created a kind of let's feel safe to lose our minds together, you know, kind of environment. And then, you know, they just were really impressed. I was impressed with how calm they seemed, because I thought, you know, it's such pressure to have your second show after a big hit. You know, everyone's watching after Girls, like, what is it going to be? And I thought that Connor would come in like shaking or something. She was so relaxed and confident, and so it was kind of fascinating to watch them.
Definitely.
Yeah. I know we've even talked a couple times about how we kind of almost think that like Marnie grows up to be Catherine.
Oh, yeah, totally. Oh, that's funny.
Jandis, you know, is like a Jessa all grown up.
Yes. Oh, that's so funny. I know, because it was, what they dealt with was a little bit more, although this is sort of more kind of outrageous and comedic in a way. Girls is less, I guess, you know, and it's half an hour. But, yeah, the issues were still in this a little more mature, like they had also grown up, Jenny and Lena.
Yeah, I like that. We almost sort of feel like this is, whereas Girls is like an example of stunted maturation in your 20s, this feels like adults who are refusing to embrace middle age, and that was such an interesting component to the show.
I know, and I appreciate like Lena's putting all of her personal stuff in Jennifer Garner's character. It was so intense, like when you know people who have all these kind of, you know, illnesses and things, and it's such a huge part of their life, of course, and they're sometimes not easily diagnosable, and it's going to be sort of confusing and take over, and everyone around them is like, what's going on? You know, so it was very brave and cool that she put that into, and not in a victim way, like for sure, you know, Jennifer Garner's character is not like, I have these issues and feel sorry for me. It's like kind of like, you're seeing how it affects everyone around them, and it was sort of, you know what I mean? It's not. Lena Dunham never portrays these, you know, sort of annoyingly kind of big personalities, you know, sympathetically. So it's just interesting. It's cool. I love it.
Yeah, it's such an interesting tone. We talked about your breakdown with Catherine, but you also stand up to George in this episode, which we've also kind of been waiting for. And what I appreciated was, again, with this choice, Ione, I feel like you allowed us to see the fact that you have a really deep sense of love for your common law husband. But you still like stood up to him in a way that felt very Carleen. And how did you toe that line, you know, where you want to be angry, but you're still holding on to so much affection for the person you love?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was cool. That was sort of a hard role for them to cast because he's such a jerk. But Chris Sullivan is so good at playing, like you feel this little wounded boy in his eyes.
Yeah.
And so even though he's like the worst, I mean, he says the worst things to his daughter, like over and over and over. And when you read it in the script, it's like, who would even say that? That's a monster. But Chris Sullivan is so good at playing kind of hurt, wounded. So you see, and then you can feel a little sympathetic. I mean, I'm supposed to be a hospice worker, and I just sort of thought, well, this is someone who she can be fed up, but also she still can care, which is unusual because usually when you cut off from someone, you know, you can sometimes get cold and just like numb. But I feel like just that she's kind of truly empathetic or something.
Mm-hmm.
No, yeah, I like that. You can see it too, because we always, you know, we mentioned how he is so good at just playing that guy that you, like you say, you almost want to punch him, but you want to hug him at the same time. And so, like how you're able to kind of be that counterpart to him has been really fun to watch.
Yeah.
It's funny. I almost feel like in some ways, like Carleen is the emotional core of the show. I feel like each of the characters are sort of like Jandis is obviously hilarious. Like I feel like in some ways she's maybe arguably like the real comic mechanism of the show. But do you ever feel like Carleen is sort of like the heart of this 8-person crew?
Yeah, I do. I really do. And it's interesting. It's nice. I think that it was sort of discovered. They were sort of writing as it went along, and I think that kind of, she became more and more like that, actually. Because I don't know if they knew the way that they were talking to me. The writers were like, "Yeah, they were sort of writing her more and more like the heart as it went on."
Yeah, I think she's our surrogate. Like, if any of these 8 crazy people are going to represent the audience, I feel like Carleen is the one I would relate to, probably.
Yeah, I know. We went around one day on the set and asked everyone, "Are you a Carleen? Are you a Jandis?" And I felt the most like Catherine, for some reason, even like just sort of like I can understand that like controlling personality, trying to control, because I'm sort of like that. But everybody said, the men on the crew, 90% of people said Carleen, and I was like, oh my God, I was so flattered and also surprised.
I think it has a lot to do with how, you've mentioned like you do a really amazing job of just having her be so grounded. Even though she's so wackadoo sometimes, it's in like a very humbling, grounding way.
I think the only person who didn't find me, like, was Duncan, the little boy who plays Orvis. That's his name in this one. Yeah, Orvis. I get it confused because there's the British version I saw. But yeah, he would always say to me, "You're weird," like the actor Duncan. I was like, I know. Stop saying that.
She's kind of I love the description of she wants to create a world that's Little House on the Prairie, but she can't. That's like such a great tagline for Carleen. I love that.
It is. It is. I think Jandis came up with a good one this week too, of cute dummies on the loose. Which I think if there's ever a spinoff for Carleen, we have a title.
Yeah, I hope so.
Well, what else are you working on right now? What else are you working on? What's coming up?
Well, I'm just hoping, when this is absorbed by, the industry, I don't know how else to say it, but just more of the same, really. I mean, I was just at a Thanksgiving and some of the writers were like, yeah, I was like, is it going to have a second go maybe? And they were like, well, it might, I don't know. But they were having ideas and they're inspired. So maybe there'll be more of this. And also, I mean, there have been a couple of things that have almost happened but weren't right. And so I'm just waiting for more of the same quality, but nothing, I'm always painting and making little movies and stuff while I'm waiting. But I'm just really lit up about, after doing this especially.
Well, deservedly. It's such a wonderful performance, Ione, and it's so cool for us to see someone who's been a part of our cultural, movie and TV experience kind of shift. I mean, we're watching television shift. That's what's happening is it's only in the last 10 years that you guys have even been given opportunities to play parts like this. So I feel very confident that we'll be seeing tons more of you playing these, complicated roles.
Yeah.
Yes. I know. It's really, I love it seeing, Winona and Stranger Things. And there's so many, and it's just the best. It's so great to see all of these, there's so much to, for us to do now.
Well, we would love to have you back here at AfterBuzz TV. We pretty much cover every television show on the network, and we have panels of critics and super fans covering them. So please come back when you get your next series regular.
I would love it.
Great.
I love it. Good to talk.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ione.
Okay.
All right, bye.
All right, take care. Bye.
IONE SKYE.
Very cool.
What a classy broad.
How sweet and how smart. She's so well-spoken about so much about her character and the experience.
Yeah, she really illuminated. I mean, I already feel like I saw Carleen, but to hear her just illuminate some of those choices behind the scenes really show what a thoughtful performance she brought to this show.
Yeah. And I mean, from beginning to end, from conception, from Lena, going into this huge, crazy backstory for everyone, to, IONE SKYE taking over at that point and really taking on that backstory. And like you said, the Little House on the Prairie thing is immediately, I just thought of all of her knitting.
Yeah.
Perfect.
All
right. Well, let's break down the episode a little bit more outside of Carleen, even though that was pretty much my favorite stuff of the episode.
Definitely.
But my goodness, what an episode.
What an episode.
What an episode. That was only a half hour. They fit so much in.
I know. We're finally starting to see the product of all these characters' terrible choices.
Yes. It really, I mean, this was the crash and burn episode.
Yes.
Crash and burn episode, but we'll start it on a high point. Saul.
Oh,
Got some love
Saul,
in the
get
air.
some Saul.
Get it, girl.
Yeah. I'm glad they brought that back. She's been a nice little, like, you know, icing on the cake character this whole season. And yeah, what I love about this Saul stuff is I feel like as we're watching who are supposed to be the adults actively implode and have their lives ruined, we're watching youth experience joy. It's like the only stability is happening with these 17-year-old lovers. You know?
They gotta bring us back to reality.
Well, it's almost like if you want to be really tragic about it, it's like the two of them don't realize it, but in 20 years, they're going to be just like the brokenhearted, disillusioned adults that they'll eventually become.
Good luck, kids. You're all screwed.
You're all screwed. We're all screwed.
But yeah, so I thought that was a nice little, and I think it was a good time to do it too, because everything was imploding. So it was nice to get to see like, she's got some happy times.
She's got some happy times.
Happy times. No one else does.
I love that they got to like be the flies on the wall at that party.
Oh, yes.
And when she's like, should we go? And her girlfriend's like, no.
Yeah.
We're going to stay.
It's good getting that outsider perspective within the show
Exactly.
in the magical barn.
Yeah, the magical barn.
So let's talk about this magical barn. So Carleen gets back. Basically, each kind of couple ends up confronting each other at one point or another. And we meet Braylon. Braylon, who I'm also a big fan of his from Crazy Ex-Girlfriend.
Oh, I love that show. I've only watched the first season, but it's really good.
He's the priest, the bra. I'm doing a great job with this. It's been a while since I watched that show, but yeah, so it was great seeing him in this. Very unsuspecting. He's kind of a dum-dum, I think.
Just so I want to just make sure I understood all this.
Yeah.
Carleen was lost, and he presumably found her because he was coming back for Nina Joy.
Yes.
And the interaction was coincidental.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought.
take, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and I gotta say, I feel like the Nina Joy Catherine conflict kind of fizzled out for me. I think they did so much building up to it, and then she's like, yeah, you told. Okay, we're over it now.
I know what you mean. It's funny. I think on paper I might have been disappointed to read that, but the way they played it, I kind of found moving. Like to me, it's one of the very few times we've seen Catherine apologize, and I think maybe that character work that's happening there is going to have its rewards in the final episode. Well, and it was setting the stage for the last line of the episode. So I think Nina Joy and Catherine needed that bonding moment to contribute to more tragedy.
Yeah. This is just a stepping stone to the real tragedy.
Yes, exactly.
Well put. But yeah, I think the two of them together were pretty brilliant. It only took MDMA to get Catherine to apologize.
Well, MDMA and a mutual hatred for their spouse.
Yeah. Just drugs and hate, just bringing the world together. I have to say, the physical comedy throughout this entire scene. David Tennant dancing, Jennifer Garner looking like the girl from The Ring crawling across the floor.
So good.
The cake fight between IONE SKYE and Jennifer Garner, like just visually very
Even the
pleasing.
sprinkles all over all over Joe.
Yeah.
So this was like, I almost got the feeling that the actors felt like they had been pent up a bit during these 6 episodes, and they were looking forward to the opportunity to perform.
Yeah.
You know, MDMA, and you could tell they were having fun, like Ione was saying.
Yeah, for sure. And so we have a couple different couples having their own moments. So the George and Nina Joy meltdown. Let's start there.
This was tough.
That was Brett Gelman. My goodness, very excited to get to talk to him next week.
Yeah.
When we were talking to Ione about how well they all play rage or anger or sadness in a comedic way, I was just like, I had goosebumps watching him. I was like, I don't know if I should cry. I don't know if I'm laughing, but I should be crying maybe.
It was moving. He's
really good.
I've seen him do so much weird comedy, but like, strangely, this might be some of the most grounded work he's done, just because he's done so much with like Adult Swim and stuff I love, but more absurd. So it was cool to see him play like authentically emotionally damaged. Like, I feel like, at least, and I'll be excited to ask him about it, but I feel like in some of those choices, he was really leaning into the heartbreak more than he was into the over the top jokiness, you know?
Yeah, and I think that's how it played so well, because it didn't seem big and forced and, you know, like uncomfortable. It was just like
Sad.
Yeah, this guy just literally falling apart.
Right.
But in kind of a funny way.
It was funny. I mean, it was definitely like moving, you know? Like this show, whether or not I'm laughing or I'm frustrated, I'm always feeling something, which I've got to credit to the show, you know?
Oh, totally. And I think the way that, you know, we were saying for a long time, Nina Joy and George might actually be the most stable couple, but then we slowly realized, nope, like she's cheating, he's pretty unstable, has some rage issues, like they have not been good either. So good getting to see everyone's a mess.
Yes.
So let's move on to the next couple that imploded, Carleen and Joe. This was one, I think, you know, we saw this one coming much more than we did with Nina Joy and George. But again, you know, the way that Carleen or that Ione described their relationship and how he's just such a jerk, but something about it, that, like the look in his eyes, the way he plays it, that you just kind of want to feel for him too. Yeah,
I feel like Joe he's the one who at least is aware of what a terrible person he is. Like we've talked about this. He might have more self-awareness, excuse me, than the other characters. And it's like all of them need tons of work and therapy, obviously, but it feels like he's the only one. He's taken the first step of recognizing what a crappy dude he is. Whereas like, I think George still thinks he's like this woke, you know, awesome guy. Yeah. Whereas at least Joe, I think, has moments where he realizes he's a pretty broken dude.
That's a really good point, because even looking back to the first time we saw that rage come out of George, when Joe had said something, you know, had made the racist comment.
Mrs. Chocolate, Little Chocolate.
Little Chocolate. And that's why it wasn't racist, because yikes.
Anytime a white person uses LIL, it's totally fine. It's not uncomfortable at all, so it's good.
Yeah, we use it all the time. Lil A, Lil J.
Lil J. Lil A and Lil J.
I'm never going to say that again.
Can we, too bad we're live. It was just
rewind. But I think that, even when we saw that original, like, rage come out of him, you could tell that it was like, he was like, oh, no, I'm protecting her, though. Yeah. So it's okay.
No idea that it's a problem. Whereas I think Joe at least knows. He's not getting better, but he knows he's messed up. And I think Carleen has that a little bit, too, you know?
A little bit, yeah. Yeah, I can see that in her, and just such different levels and such different intensity levels, obviously. And I think that, again, goes to credit Lena Dunham and her writing. Very similar with girls, you know? I mean, like, Hannah had not a clue in the world that she was a terrible, terrible person for most of that show. Marnie, a little more self-aware. Mm-hmm. She embraced it. She's like, yeah, I'm a bitch.
Right.
I'm okay with it.
Right.
So I think, again, like that idea of taking people who might have their quirks or be annoying or not great people or narcissistic, whatever it is, and that balance of putting the ones who don't realize it and the ones who do more together.
Well said.
So let's see, who else imploded? Now we have, let's get to the big one at the end.
Yeah. So Catherine and Walt, this was such good writing because it like twisted my insides, because it was so sweet to let them have 2 minutes of affection.
I was literally watching that scene going like, they did it.
I know.
Guys, you did it. And then
nope. Yeah. For those, just to catch you up, the line, normally we don't recite exact lines, but it was so well written. Catherine lets Walt know that she's connecting with Nina Joy, and they're finally connecting. And the thing they connect over is that neither of them want to have sex with their husbands, which is pretty much the worst thing you can say to your husband.
Yeah, me and my roommate were watching this, and we both were just like, literally the worst thing you could say.
Yeah.
It was, and I think there's no turning back from that. You know, like she said it, and it was what finally pushed Walt over the edge of, he's had his little moments of just like, you know, fighting for his pickles, tearing up the mattress, these like passive aggressive acts of rage every
once in a while. Fighting for his pickles. The Walt Jodell memoir.
I'm gonna get my pickles.
Yeah. You're right, though. This was like, he let it out.
Yeah, and I think it says a lot that not only, you know, just us as a viewer going like, oh my gosh, yeah, can you say anything worse? To his reaction and just going, oh no. Mm-hmm. I was kind of waiting for something at the end of this too, though, because I was like, I know this is like a 2-part birthday party episode. Yeah. So what's about to happen? And wow,
I know. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that we haven't talked about yet. Oh, we got to see some talents. Oh, I forgot to ask. I wanted to ask about the cups. I totally forgot.
That's right.
Ione, if you go back and watch this, we were very impressed by your cup playing abilities.
Yes.
It's not easy.
No, I watched it like 3 times.
Yeah, it's super good.
I died as soon as she started to do it.
But we got to see, why can't I remember his name? Arturo Del Puerto's character.
Miguel.
Miguel, thanks. We got to see Miguel do opera.
Catherine was not impressed.
That was disgusting.
only she would use the word disgusting.
It's like, okay. Oh, so funny.
Yeah, and that's right. I wish we had gotten to talk to her about that, because I also love just Carleen when she was, just getting mad that she's like, when she had the MDMA in her, and she's like, no, we have to do talents.
It's so cringy, the way she was incorporating Walt. I've got a ticket for the Walt way down.
Very uncomfortable.
Oof, but
Beautifully uncomfortable.
Yeah, well played, IONE SKYE.
Yeah.
It's really funny.
Oh, well, I think we probably are on the same page, but MVP of this episode?
I actually would have to say, I mean, obviously, IONE SKYE brought the serious intensity, so we've Carleened already, though. I think I've given her the MVP already in another episode. So I actually want to give it back to Catherine this episode, I gotta say. The one line that had me rolling was when she's kind of feeling high, and she goes, I've done heroin. I only snorted it, but still. I love just but still. I think Jennifer Garner, I really saw her lean into Catherine this episode in a way that I want to MVP her.
Oh, very nice. I like that. And that's a good point too, because the way that you were saying with Carleen too, when she had to go kind of off the rails, but also still be Carleen, she was Catherine through and through.
Yeah, she was.
Every single moment of this.
Yeah.
I'll skip over Carleen for that same reason that we've gushed about her enough tonight. But, I'm going to go with Brett Gelman.
Yeah.
Just because of how powerful his moments were.
Yeah.
I was just very captivated by him in this one.
This is one of those episodes where it's hard to pick an MVP. Everyone was really well served in this episode.
This is true.
Yeah.
God, what do you think is this finale?
Let's get into some predictions.
Do some predictions?
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Do you know what I think? I think Harry and her lady are going to make it. I think they're going to have an amazing proposal, or she's going to find out she's pregnant. Well, I guess that wouldn't happen with 2 women. In a sitcom, it's like, and we're pregnant. I guess biologically that probably won't happen unless they've been doing some real behind the scenes, some work there. But I think we're going to have a really nice Harry moment with her lady.
I like that. I really like that. I can see it. And you know what? Bridget Everett deserves all the things.
Oh, we didn't even talk about her and Orvis this episode.
Oh my goodness.
They were the body heat conversation.
I'm gonna babysit you so hard your balls drop.
Just the best.
Lots of good back and forth with them. No, I can see that. I'm gonna say on the couples, Catherine and Walt are gonna be okay.
You think?
I think they're gonna be okay. I think we got to see such a genuine appreciation of where they maybe were, because we never got to see them have fun together until now. We finally got to see her be more humanized, him kind of just accept her for a little while before it went off the rails. So I don't know if it's too far beyond repair, but I'm going to say they're going to be okay.
I think they're going to be okay apart from each other. I think we're going to see them affectionately move on. With respect.
With a nice handshake and.
Yeah, but I think they both deserve better. Catherine wants something else and so does Walt. And they don't want to admit it because they it's interesting. In the same way that Carleen wants to paint her own little house in the prairie, Catherine does too.
Yeah.
But the McSorleys are probably such a twisted family. But I don't know. I just have a feeling. I don't know if we're going to see any of these couples survive. I had a moment when I thought maybe Catherine was going to discover that she was a lesbian.
Oh my gosh, yeah, in the opening with her and Juliette Lewis, yeah. Mm-hmm. I was just
it's a big choice.
All right, very big choice.
But I wondered if we were maybe planting seeds, because she's been talking about how sexually unsatisfied she's been, and so many of her even traumatic experiences medically have been so specifically female. I wonder if she feels like she wants the sexual gaze of a woman. I don't know.
True. That would actually be really fun. And also, I kind of feel like none of them are going to end up together, except for possibly Catherine and Walt, just because, you don't really want them to be together.
Yeah.
So I think those might be the two that in the end they're nope.
Do you think we'll see any switches?
Yeah, because they've planted seeds with that.
Right.
They've definitely planted seeds with that. I think as much as Joe might want Jandis, I don't see that one happening.
Jandis doesn't seem like she's equipped for monogamy.
No.
Really.
I think she's just going to kind of go off in her own.
Well, I wondered if maybe it would be a Jandis Catherine, you know.
I mean, I would, after that opening.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Who knows?
Possibilities are endless.
Any like unspoken character arcs that you really want to see, like any other seeds that have been planted? I feel like we have some Miguel buttoning up to do.
Yeah, he's kind of dropped off the last few episodes, and he's just kind of like a sad little mess right now because he knows he's losing Jandis.
Yeah.
So I kind of think that we might see something with him. A major, maybe we see his ex come back. Maybe we see, some sort of. There's lots of ex-lovers coming into play right now, so maybe she comes back into play.
Well, we shall find out.
We shall find out. So next week we have Brett Gelman coming on.
Woo!
Very excited. So make sure you guys tune in. In the meantime, where can we find you on social media, Jeff?
You guys can find me on Twitter at Jeffrey C. Graham. This Wednesday, I'm covering a new pilot. I think we're going to be doing Bravo's new show, Dirty Harry, which is a scripted show based on a podcast. That's the new thing because, if you've seen Homecoming on Amazon.
Oh, yeah.
That's very good. Just a quick recommendation. No one's watching it, but Amazon's Homecoming. It's going to be a slow kind of pickup kind of show, but it's one of the best shows I've seen this year. So check that out.
Slow burns are the best burns.
Yep.
All right. Well, I'm Amy Maestri. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Amy Maestri. And if you're a fan of the Romanoffs, make sure you stick around. I'll be doing the after show at 6 Pacific time. So we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.